everything underwater for habitat improvement for fishing. $100,000 went into that. It was one of the, is that anything I need to take care of? Got it. Okay. So between Friends of Mincy Lake Fish and Boat and the county, over $100,000 of in-lake habitat has been underwater for the past 2 years now. I'll show some recreation improvements that we've done. But one of our biggest accomplishments to really plan for the future is we just finished a greenway plan that looked at building new trails, new recreation components, new archery complex that's there at Bear Swamp. Combining everything from the base of the Kittatinny all the way down to Bear Swamp and making connections of trails that do not exist right now through that entire area with the concept of environmental stewardship. So this is one of the largest concentrations in all of Pennsylvania of vernal pools. The environmental quality of this area is so significant, we need to really portion off sections so people don't traverse through it. There's the Nature Conservancy has over 300 acres in this area, so you know the significance of it when an international group has put much money into preserving land around this area. So we've done everything in the past. What you see in the very foreground is a photo journal. This was developed as a thought from Nurture Nature Center down here in Easton. And we've been populating these things throughout the area. So you'll see them at Cumore Park, you'll see them at Mincy. We have 2 of them up there, and some other areas where it's a different concept. You can sit down, draw. You ever see those library boxes if you're walking your neighborhoods? This is that concept, but there's a bench in front of that, and it shows some of the different flora and fauna that you might see there. And in the front, there's a little open area that you can have a journal, there's some colored pencils and things like that. So we're trying to build in all different types of what you could do to be outdoors. So that's kind of our starting point. All right. So our staff, as Phil mentioned, I'm superintendent of Parks and Rec. As I'm finding out, I thought it was 3, but as we're digging in 49 years, it's I believe I'm the 4th now, actually. With a long lineage of excellent work that past superintendents have put forth. I have a full-time staff of roughly 18 people when we're at full capacity, which really hasn't been since I started. We have Jim Wilson, excellent. He's been around for many years in the Valley. He worked at Jacobsburg. He went out to DCNR. He was the watershed specialist for Northampton County. He does all of our natural resource planning projects, partnerships, anything that deals with Audubon, anything that deals with environmental restoration, stream restoration projects. He's our go-to for all of that, and I'm sure many of you probably know him. On the other end, that is our conservation coordinator. Sherry Acevedo does all of our trail planning and land preservation work. Those 2 alone run our department, and everything that we accomplish, I can't say enough, and we won't be able to have what you'll see a lot of the accomplishments without them on our staff. We have Stephen Kloiber, who is part-time DEP vector. So if you see a vector truck during the summer for mosquito control, he's in charge of that for the county. On the back end, over the winter, he's helping us write management plans for our properties and diving in for education for our maintenance staff. And then we have 2 foremen underneath me. Greg Dahl and Jim Hanser both have 15+ years with the county, and Greg has about 20 with the parks, and Jim's right behind him with about 12 years in the parks. So they have extensive knowledge of the park system, maintenance, and we're always updating our maintenance techniques as much as we can. And then we have seasonal opportunities for employment from college students to retirees that help out at Wayne Grove and Leesmore Park. So right now we have a total of 22 park preserves or open space areas within the county. We've ballooned to over 2,300 acres, and this nature for all, everyone is welcome here is something that we strive for. And it's not just the inclusive of race, but it's also the inclusive of anyone to get out, any disability. And you'll see those types of enhancements that we're doing in our parks right now. So we really take that for everything that we try to do is education, sensory, disability for walking or hiking, anything like that. We try as much as possible in our plans and in the development of our parks to have nature for all. So over the past few years, we've added 4 new preserves throughout the county, totaling just under 320 acres. We had Hexenkampf Ridge, which is down in Williams Township, Stouts Valley. It's right there. The Hindells, Ned and Linda, I'm sure many of you had bobbing. They donated 100% that property, 76.76 acres of that. And when we looked back in some of this historical stuff, going back to Bill Minio, like there was a county park plan for Hexenkampf Ridge. 30 years later, we actually have it as part of it. Now there's been land preservation all around it. So through land preservation, if you have an easement, public access has to be a part of that. So we're looking at how do we make trails part of public access that we can expand into those easement areas and have a trailhead located at Hexenkampf. We actually just over the winter here with this great weather that we're having right now, we were able to blaze a brand new trail system, and we're going to be doing a parking lot this spring. So we'll have access to all of these new preserves, hopefully by midsummer. We access as a new parking lot. There's access if you just want to park along the road. It's all public property, so it's open right now. Our newest preserve, literally a few weeks old, is the Bonarchek, another family that has donated, and you may have heard the name in the past, the Mausers. This is right up in Allen Township. It's right across from Allen Township's municipal building. Beautiful property and historical significance. This was the property where one of the runners from the Walking Purchase sat down and passed away. It was one of the, I believe it was the first one. There's the rock in the middle of the stream, and that's where he sat and never really got up again. But the geology, the ecosystem in this property it's just one of those phenomenal things that we need to preserve. And if you go just downstream of the Hockey Creek here, there's 4 or 5 new warehouses in the old Copper Penny area. So if you know that area, that's kind of where those are. Spangler Preserve is literally right behind East Allen Township's municipal building. It was up for development 3 or 4 times. There was a solar farm that was going to go on. There was housing. The 3 siblings all came together and said, we want to make this a preserve. So our ability to provide funding through the county, through our EIT, through county council and the administration's dedication to putting these types of projects forth, we were able to buy that outright and make it a county property. Little Martin's Preserve is in Lower Mount Bethel with a little bit of Washington Township. This is another it's one of those properties we need to preserve. There's stream running through it. It's hillsides, a valley, stream, some ag components, but it's just one of those properties. If it was let go, you just never would have one of these gems in the county. Here's a picture of Hexenkampf. You can see in this first photo, that's the witch's head, is what they call it. There's so much significance that we're finding looking back for the past 49 years and even earlier. So there's a history from this property dating back to the Lenape, but then also witch doctor events from the Germans that were here that actually went to Louismore Park to hold seances or those witchcraft things. And when I hear the steps when I'm up in the thing, yeah, I can tell they're coming true. But these connections from the history of the past properties from the very, very past to the now, it's kind of really neat to see that. This is at the Bonarchek. Or I'm sorry, this is Little Martin's. This is at the bottom of the valley here. There's a small pond, and just beyond that is a stream that feeds through. The valley kind of goes up on both ends, and you got a great view of the Kittatinny Ridge if you walk up on the south side of the property. Here is This is Spangler, I believe. Yes, this is Spangler. This is right behind either the municipal building or the RCN complex looking south to the Highlands, really. So Lehigh's Tower is probably that green space right up top there, but this is another, it's one of those views. If it was housing, we wouldn't have this opportunity to open it up to the public. And here's Bernard Trek that shows some of the different areas, the terrain, the geology, all of this. What we're going to be doing for these types of properties is maintaining the land as is. We'll open it up for hiking trails. We're not doing any type of active recreation that will have soccer or baseball or anything like that. We're preserving the land for the quality of the land. This is what it's going to look like in perpetuity. So our parks department is very diverse, I guess we could say. We do facility management, so we take care of Graysdale, we take care of the government center in Easton. This is the time of year where we do snow removal in all of those places. But we also do a lot of environmental restoration. It's one policy that we've changed over the past 4 or 5 years. New BMPs, getting away from turf grass. You'll see in some of our parks where there's new meadow areas. Environmental education and community program. This is part of that, but it's also getting school kids out. So right now we have a 2-year program going in Caddy High School over at Wayne Grew. We have a Bluebird program that Jim Wilson's been running that actually tracks and gets data from Audubon up to Cornell, where they're looking at bluebirds. We have research properties with every college in the area, East Stroudsburg, Lehigh, Lafayette, Moravian, on our properties. So this was one thing I really needed, and I wanted to get out and keep the public education component going, because that's one thing that everyone can get behind. It's one thing that if you're out and you're learning about the property, you learn about the history, you learn about the environment, you can learn chemistry, you can learn math, you can learn all these different things. And that's one big component that we want to really keep going off of. And the other is our partnerships. We can't do all of this with just a staff of 18 and 3 people on ground. So all of our partnerships, Wildlands, AMC, we always look to help out as much as we can, but also if there's anything that you guys are looking to do, we're open. We're open for any kind of project, any kind of planning, any kind of technical assistance that we can provide through our expertise. We're willing and able to do all of that. On the funding side, we run a Livable Landscapes grant program that annually varies, but with this past administration, every single year, $1 million for land preservation, $1 million for farmland right off the bat, no questions asked. We have opportunities to do environmental restoration. We helped fund the Monocacy Creek restoration right out here, and even south of here, the Johnson Dam that was taken out. We've done projects, stream restoration, we've done meadow conservation. We also do municipal planning. And through some of that education that I talked about with technical assistance, we've, in the last 2 years, we were able to get 3 new EITs in local municipalities. So East Allen, Lower Naz, and Upper Nazareth all have dedicated earned income taxes that will help provide their funding in their local community for land preservation, municipal park, trails, that they can match the county and state and federal private foundations. So really, they're putting their dollars at their local community forth to match those funds to do these types of projects on their own. So our Livable Landscapes grants help match a lot of those local municipalities. And then we also fund municipal parks. So if there's new tennis courts or trail development or acquisition, pickleball, all those types of things, we help match that local match, which normally goes up to a state match, and it's really a 3-way, and they rank a lot higher when the state's looking at those applications coming in. There's because the county and the local municipality already has their fair share into it. So I talked about some restoration, some pictures here. We're doing all types of native plants. At Louisemore Park, we'll be doing a 7-acre meadow that will be going in this year, right behind the house, behind the pond there. Over at Wayne Grew, we planted 7.5 or 8 acres of meadow in the fall. So it might take 2 years to be that beautiful flower, but this year we're hoping to see some, and then really after that, it was an area of ag that would get flooded out all the time. We took those eight agricultural area, or 8 acres of ag out and made it meadow. So when I talk about environmental restoration, park planning, we have a trail that goes through that area. We also planted probably 300 different trees as a riparian buffer in that area also. At Louisemore, you'll start seeing some of the islands in the walking paths used to just be turf grass where the guys would just go cut their lines there. Those areas have, we put, I think, like 8,000 plugs in, native plant plugs in those areas last year. Some we're going to have to redo this year, different shades that we didn't really compensate for, and just some got taken over by like Japanese stilt grass. So we're trying to figure out the best ways to manage, to implement, and get those up and running. You'll see some of these signs in our parks, because our biggest component when I go back to it is the education. You start seeing these nice turf grass areas as the normal, nice manicured areas. Well, then we start letting them go, and you're walking through weeds that are 3 or 4 feet high. We get calls. Why are you letting it grow? Why aren't you maintaining the park? This is the first component of that education back out to everyone. So that helps us kind of stifle some of those calls. And then they're like, oh, well, what are you doing? So we'll tell them more restoration. We found out through studies that we've looked at that meadows actually sequester more CO2 than actual forests. So when we did a return on environment back in 2016 with the Planning Commission, Wildlands, and a host of others, meadows were the smallest component of land that we had in the valley. We're starting to change that. A lot of our turf grass is becoming meadow. Some ag areas are becoming meadow. And we look at that as, I kind of call it, it's the bees box of areas. You could have a whole area of 500 acres of ag, but where are they getting pollination from? So if we're putting some of these areas in, those are those bee boxes. They help pollinate areas, and especially for migratory areas. You look at the monarch, or you look at any of the flyways that we have here. So those are some of the practices, the education and the restoration work that we're doing. Over at Louisemore Park, if you come into the park on the east or the west side of the park, there used to just be a black macadam storm drain that would go there. We took all that out. We planted all types of new plugs, native plugs, different flowering plugs, and that's in there. And then this year, we're finally going to get the windmill up and running and have that pond going in the back again. So yeah, I'm trying to curtail a lot of the phone calls, but these are all types of things that we're really looking forward to and kind of bringing the past back to the future. Our stream and river restoration projects, once again, partnerships are the biggest thing. Monocacy Creek Watershed Association had 3 or 4 properties that we own that they've done work on just in this past year. They've been excellent to work with. This at Gertie Fox here, it was just an area where ash trees were dying, falling into the creek, creating 10-foot holes, backups of all trash and everything that would fall down. So the first time we did what we always kind of looked at, and for a steep slope stream bank restoration area, was to kind of grade it back and put rock and then get live stakes in there, and hopefully it'll grow up in a couple of years. We researched education. How do we do these differently? So we found a different technique where we put core logs and we stepped it. So this is an area around the bend. It's going to get heavy water flow. We tiered it, and it looks a lot better than just that rock that's there, because now we put plants on it, and it's already starting to grow with low-growing meadow plugs and seed. And now you can see we put in some flowering shrubs. There's a housing development right behind it, the condos. So we wanted to add aesthetics to this as well. So how is it the biodiversity, but also the aesthetics of it. So we wanted to make that balance. Monocacy Creek put a small fisherman's path along the back end. So we're building trails, we're doing environmental restoration. All of this comes back to education. NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, has their headquarters at the entrance of this area. They blazed the trail to go down there. So when people go out, And instead of sitting in a room and talking to a therapist, get out. That's some of the things. That's part of the education. It's part of the health of all of this. So now people can just go for walks and talk and have therapy instead of sitting in a room. That little trail is probably going to be the biggest impact for them right now. So those types of things, as I mentioned, partnerships, education, all of this, it just keeps coming full circle into our parks. And Fry's Run is a funny little thing. It's in the middle of the South Valley, and it is, you spit in it and it rises 10 feet. We've seen it 30 feet up in floods, but no plants have moved in there. We've done 4 or 5 years of restoration. Streams, you got to redo stream banks all the time, but the riparian buffers that we've established have held, which is incredible to see. The flow that's going in there, they're buried. I mean, it's literally 30 feet tall of water on the back end. The Delaware River comes, backs it up, all the flow coming down, backs it up. And all of those things have stayed. It's a great opportunity to see a long-term investment that's working. Some of our co-op projects, as I mentioned, we have the bird nesting monitoring programs. We have a lot that's going on in the Mincy corridor. Through our Greenway plan, we had a environmental service consultant that came out, found a lot of biodiversity, endangered species, and those are some of the reasons that we need to keep public out of areas. But through our partnerships with Fish and Boat and the Game Commission, Audubon, we have 3 purple towers right now, or purple martin towers at Mincy, and we're going to be putting a 4th one in. The first year we had about 20 birds that were there, and we actually found some that came from Leaster Lake. Now we do band-aids twice a year. That Audubon helps us out with. These little guys fly all the way to South America and come back. These little birds. So they have a colony now of 150 last year that they did, and we've seen returns. So the families are actually coming back and using these. We're putting them, another one up, and it's going to be one of the largest concentrations that we know of in the area. Another restoration in Tottsgap of conservation area, just north of here, we put an osprey nest in. I don't know what it is with us and Game Commission, but they said they never had success with an inland osprey spray here. That year, we had osprey. We had eagle fighting osprey to take that nest over. We've had hatchlings every single year, and it's been a phenomenal success story for that. That little guy in the bottom left corner, it's a barred owl. Once again, the Game Commission said we put these things up and they never come. This is the 2nd year that we've had hatchlings of barred owls in the woods of Mincy. It's amazing. Our partnerships with the Conservation District and Penn State Extension, we started a live steak nursery at the Graysdale campus. This will provide free live steaks for groups or watershed groups that can do more stream restoration projects for minimal costs. So it was a grant that we got through the Valley Greenways. So it's really returning the investment back into groups for all of this. And one of the neatest things, I think, and you might see this once a year, this yellow plane flies around, and we're really working with our farmland preservation and our conservation district. It's a cover crop program. So the environmental, the education, all of that, they get this cover crop on for the winter time. So if you start seeing green fields in these ag fields, it's the cover crop that we planted. It helps the soil, it helps erosion control, and it provides a lot more nutrients back in. So they should be getting higher crop yields on these properties with using less pesticides and things in the future. So we don't have the whole Chesapeake Bay area where the regulations control phosphorus and nitrogen and fertilizers. These are the steps that we're doing prior to any of that work that may come down the line through the Delaware River watershed protections that we may see in the future. So we're really doing a lot of cool things, and a lot of it is all part of our education, our programming. This picture on the right is a small little stand at Louisville Park. Right before, if you're heading west on 22, right before you get to 33, look over to the field. You'll see a small little woodlot that comes out. The old growth forest of oak trees west of or east of the Mississippi for their size of stand is located right here at Louismore Park. We dated one to over 200 years. There's that professor that came out and did it. Or it was really neat. Like gas actually popped out of it when they did it. But we have this as a designated old growth forest area that will always stay that way. Now, the education, the restoration, there's been a lot of invasives in here. So Stephen Kloiber has been out working on managing those, working with our staff to educate them, to show them which are the good ones, which are the bad ones, how do we control them, and a lot of the understory has been changing, so it's been good. I mentioned our Louisville Landscapes Grant Tour. We've done all types of projects all over municipalities, anywhere from doing rain gardens and buffer plantings to full-blown acquisition of 50, 80 acres of new parkland in like Lehigh Township or Moore Township. Major advocate and partner for our Delaware and river sojourners. We don't just look at the land trails, there's also the water trails that the county has, the Delaware and the Lehigh River water trails. So we're doing advancements on those, either at acquiring land, doing boating access. We actually had the first time ever a raft or a tubing company out in Easton that uses Frost Hollow right up 611 that uses that as a launching point to go back to Easton. So there's the economic component of it as well. So we're dealing with ecotourism, bringing people in, building the economy around our park system. And we have an ongoing partnership with Wildlands Conservancy. They do all of our free education programming for school kids. They do mom and me programs, they do daily hikes, they do all types of things. They either have them up on their website or we will post them 3 to 4 weeks prior to an event for registration. So Facebook or any of their sites, they have them up there as well. And it's been great. They do all of that I can't get the funding through the county to have those types of staff as naturalists or additional summer help to do those things. And then they also provide us technical advice, and they work with us on riparian buffer and stream restoration projects. We're doing one at Archibald Johnston, and we're doing a stream restoration this summer. Up at Mincy, I mentioned all the money that we're really dumping in there, but this is really, I think, one of the highlights that we were able to do besides the in-lake habitat stuff. These are accessible boat launch and fishing piers. When I talk about nature for all, anyone can get out on the lake. The individual that you see in the middle, unfortunately, and right here in the top here, he passed away about a month after this. He wasn't out in the field prior to this, probably for about 1.5 years, but he was able to get in the boat one last time. This company, Board Safe, started with local people at Leaser Lake. They're a topping company, and now they're doing these things all across the country and anywhere else. But it just goes to show, like, when people put their mind to it, they work with disabled people or and people in wheelchairs to come up with the best design. That they have pull cords to sit down until they get in the boat. There's ramps on it so they can go right out. These things are phenomenal. We're one of 4, Knockmixon, Mincy, Leaser, and I forget where the other one is, but on Eastern PA, those are the 4 that we have. So we're very fortunate to be part of that realm. We just had the Lehigh Valley River Runners did a whole exhibit up here over the summer where they brought 20 different people out, and most of them were in a wheelchair. They brought their own things and they used this and they got out of the lake. Starting this year with our partnership through Wildlands, we'll be having free canoes on Saturdays, I believe, from July through September. Once again, get the public out, providing nature for all. So some of the things that we've been doing in our parks right now, and we're talking about hiking, so trails. We just rehabbed 5 miles of the Norbath, of the existing Norbath Trail. We just completed it. We redid the 3 bridges over both ends of the area right by Wayne Group Park. What is really cool about this material that we laid down, now all of us know, and whoever's on Zoom might not know, but this area is the cement belt area. This is all recycled concrete material, everything from the base to the top layer. There's a company right here in Bethlehem called Crushcrete that brings in all of the demo from the area. They do recycled concrete. You can get anything from large stone to these these fines that we laid down. So 5 miles of recycled material on the Norbath now, which is phenomenal. It's one of those, let's reuse and look at the best things that we can do. I'm happy to say, hopefully within the next year or two, we will be extending it all the way to Bath. So for the first time in 25, 26 years, we'll actually have a Norbath trail that will be connected. Archibald Johnston Conservation Area. It's one of those areas that it's kind of off the beaten path. Not many people know about. We're starting to work a little bit more down there, get some of these areas cleaned up. But this is really an area for stream restoration, but the historical significance of the area as well. We've been working with Bethlehem Township and Friends of Johnston, or Camel's Hump Farm, as many of you know. We own 58 acres along the Monocacy. The township owns the top part, and then Camel's Hump Farm is just off of that. So we've been working as a collective to really manage that whole property, to make sure everyone's doing the best techniques and making it all really cohesive. So anyone that visits doesn't know that you're going from township to county land or to the farm. So that's one area that you'll start seeing some restoration work over this summer. It will. A lot of the restoration work is going to be downstream from the bend here. Some of the old remnants of the bridges and things like that, where like the island area is, that's all going to come out, and we're going to restore some channels, and hopefully that will help. The flooding is just a major issue for the whole Monocacy watershed area, and if we can do things like this to abate some of those things that we can't control, at least it's hopefully a 30-20 or 37, I don't know, but at least we can do something. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I talked about the Delaware River and the Lehigh River water trails. You'll start seeing signs along the Lehigh River. We just got made for the boat launch areas that show the whole Lehigh River water trail, in those areas that show boat launches and the trails, mostly the DNL that connects those areas. And then through work with the Fish and Boat, we're identifying other areas for small kayak canoe launch areas along the Delaware. There's not many on the Pennsylvania side in this stretch. A lot of it's over on the Jersey side. So we're trying to figure out how we can implement those to open up more access. Louisemore Park, one of our flagship areas. Trails all through here. We have different types of trail. We have rubber surface, we have blacktop, and we have stone. We'll be doing a lot of work through land management here, new meadows and plantains and things like that. But we're also going to be redoing the tennis courts on the east side. We're going to be putting a new bathroom that's ADA compliant in over there. And then in upcoming years, redo the top lot area and make that a little bit more accessible. And then redo some of the walking paths over there. Gertie Fox, I mentioned that. This was a great partnership that we have with the Monocacy Creek Watershed Association. Did the planting buffers there. They did a nice little walkway that has an overlook that you can see from there. We're working on getting better access for parking that you can access. We have a kind of handshake agreement with the company that has the house right at the beginning of the entryway there before you get to the condos. But it's a great fisherman's area, and it's a nice area that we can conserve right here in Bethlehem. And this is a great view of when you're down at the creek there in the back area that they were able to cut a trail through. It's not long, it's not far, but it's a great like little loop that we can go walk. Yes, I didn't know it, but I've read and
I said something wrong. Was she let me?
Oh wow.
And they went after the monetarily. She thinks a bunch of old workers to sell them the same cost.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, so historical significance, like as you guys know, just some of these properties have a lot of it tied to it. Graysdale, this is if you're at Graysdale, it's the top of the hill on the north side of Penn Allen Road. We're going to be looking at opening up some hiking trails. This is an area that is actively hunted as well, so that balance of kind of stewardship and land management. But it's definitely an area that we can open up. You can see the views are phenomenal from here, all the way down into downtown Bethlehem here. And I believe you can even see the PPL building in Allentown. That's kind of off to the right in there. The Mincy Lake corridor, this is a spot that we need a lot of investment, a lot of rehab work before we start building new. Up there, there's an excellent boardwalk system at the now the Gerald Seifert Bear Swamp Archery Complex Park. We just dedicated that complex to Jerry Seifert, old county council executive and county council member. But if you're ever up in this area, I would definitely get out and check this area. It goes back into the swamp. It does a big loop, and the flora and fauna that you find in there, it's phenomenal. It's pristine. These are the types of things that we need to rehab before we even plan on building out in any of these other areas. No, that's Monroe County, I believe, or Pike or whatever. Mincy Lake is in the northeastern quadrant of the county.
Does the trail go all the way around the lake yet?
Yes, except the spillway. That we're working on getting grant funding. When we get the grant funding, we'll be able to build it across the spillway. And that'll be the first time ever that the whole lake trail is accessible that way. But we do have it all the way open on the backside that you can walk it. Yeah. Wayne Greer Memorial Park, this is the site where we're doing our 7-acre meadow. And as I mentioned, there's just a grass trail really that we're going to be developing in here. We put a small wood trail through the creek that goes down to the first bridge, which is just on the back side of this that you can see. The cool thing about this, just on the other side of this hedgerow that you see to the left here, or actually, sorry, I'm looking out. So it'll be the far right. On the back side of that, we have a unique opportunity for research once again with Lehigh and Lafayette that we're looking at different ways to help build BMPs to create better biodiversity, better carbon sequestration, and a better economic way of doing buffering around warehouses or new developments instead of just putting white pine and a red maple and grass. We're looking at, we found this unique technique, and it was really when the power plant in Japan went down after the tsunami and stuff, and they call it a Miyawaki plot. There was the Horn Farm out in York County started this in the area that we found research-wise, and what it is they take a bunch of seedlings and they kind of overpopulate it, the growth rate is 3 times as much than you're doing your traditional planting. And that's what we've seen down there. So we're like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll see if this works. We went down a year later, the stuff that they call the Miyawaki plot was up here. Their traditional plantings were still down here. The biodiversity is phenomenal. You can get so much other types of shrubs, and the trees will grow higher, the underbrush stays down low. So we're working with Lehigh. They're doing all of the environment and climate study portion of that. We have our control area. We have the standard Miyawaki area. Then we have one area that we did seed balls, and we just put some brush on top of it to see if the deer, well, the deer are still walking in it, so that's not working too well. And then we just did one where we just cut ground and let's see what comes up. We just started that this year. Students are putting I think on Lehigh's site, there's a blog that has a post, but we're putting a publication together, kind of a white paper that'll show that. That's a 3-year dedicated research project that we have with Lehigh. Lafayette on the opposite side is looking at the economics component of it. Is it going to be more feasible? Is it lesser to do it this way? What's the maintenance cost of doing it this way compared to the old way? So we have great partnerships with these 2 local universities on something that might change development, or at least buffering development to create better areas. So that's over at Wayne Greer. Up at our golf farm preserve, which is in Plainfield Township, it's adjacent to the Plainfield Township Trail. You probably run right by it if you're ever there. There's an old red barn on it yet. We spent about a year doing a full master site plan for this project. And once again, this whole thing is really gonna be preserved as is. This small 3-5 acre area is gonna be the concentrated area, which is right along the Plainfield Township Trail, which is also the overlay for the 9/11 National Memorial Trail. We're gonna have some community gardens, an education center, parking, pavilion, a natural play area, but mostly just trails that will get dispersed out. Our biggest thing for this section is the land management of it. So we're working with the Game Commission to figure out the best techniques to do field strips, stormwater management on the ag fields. What type of meadows should we put in for nesting birds, but also the component, because we allow hunting here. What else can we do to enhance hunting opportunities as well? So those are the kind of like the new techniques that we're doing with a lot of our properties. We're not just looking at what you normally see as municipal parks as the ball fields and tennis courts and things like that. We're kind of pigeoning our hole in, or finding a niche between large state parks and your local municipality. So we're balancing ourselves, and that's really what our focus has been. We got a $200,000 grant from DCNR this past fall. We're still waiting to hear if we get an LSA grant from the state. But just the initial cost of getting stormwater management, a parking lot, that's roughly $700,000-800,000. So without grant funding, that won't be going to construction this year, hopefully next year. Some of it, yes. In this section, we have an overflow area, which is down. Yeah, that'll be, it's almost, yes, but it's a kind of a mesh plastic that they put in. And then they put, yeah, so that'll be in the overflow area, but the other areas will not. But we'll have rain gardens, we'll have stormwater management that's full of bioswales and things like that. So kind of, because the Little Bushkill Creek is just down below this. 2 years ago, we already started a 8-acre meadow that we pulled back the ag production in this area. So we started the park development. We don't have this going, but we started that stuff. We did, that one took about 200 trees and shrubs along the area for riparian buffer area. So that we started, we saw it as the development of the park beginning that way and not throwing the parking lot in first. So hopefully that'll get established. When the parking lot goes in, you already have beautiful meadow, you'll have some of the trails that are developed, you'll have the trees coming in, and things like that. No, we actually have a lot of, through Wildlands, they find the volunteers. So they get groups like Air Products or PPL or Just Born. They'll bring them out and coordinate with us for the plantings. My guys will go out, drill the holes beforehand, and then they're off to another park doing their maintenance. Yeah, we make it a little too easy for some of them. But yeah,
we help out, they help us out, so.
It's a lot of planting. And as I mentioned, the Norbath, this will be going along 329 to the back end of the Back Borough Authority and out to Mill Street. We've been working with, the borough itself, who's going to be doing some transportation planning. We call it redesign of 512, 329, 191. That's coming in there. So they're looking at making the connection from Milk Street to Kip Callan Park and putting a major trailhead in that section, which gets us one step closer to kind of getting to Graysdale, getting over to Tatamy and making this big loop system of trail. So we're moving and planning and doing all this, and you know how long trail plans go.
Yeah, I worked
On the Two Rivers Trail Plan, yeah.
I worked on the trail past the cement company.
Yeah. And Phil and I, when I don't want to date us, but 20 years ago, we did the Two Rivers Trail Plan,
Yes.
which looked at connecting the DNL and the Delaware River down in Easton up to the Appalachian Trail, north, south. We've made headway. There's some good sections done. There's still some sections I just laugh at. I don't know how we're ever going to get around it, but we should be connecting to Jakesburg within the next few years. About 2 years ago, we bought 1.3 acres of land right outside of Stockertown and Plainfield Township from Norfolk Southern, and we purchased an easement from the landowner adjacent to us that will get us up to Jacobsburg. We've worked with PennDOT to do a brand new planning project that we're actually in the right of way of 33. We had to survey out the limited access highway, which is a federal designated area. You can't do any development in there. We've got 25 feet off of the property boundary, surveyed that out, and we were able to snake it up to Filetown Road, cross the bridge, snake it up to Jacobsburg on that section. We were awarded 1.3 million for the construction, engineering, and planning of that area. We will, I swear, we will go to construction on the Bushkill section this year. The township, Bushkill Township has been phenomenal to work with. The county's kind of working as the pastor. We have the staff and expertise really to do some of these larger grants and to manage those larger grants. So we were awarded from TASA and from DCNR these two $654,000 grants. The township's going to be able, with their phenomenal road crew, to build this trail, which is going to save us a ton of money. So they're going to be doing different techniques of stormwater management underneath the trail, which is a French mattress that they're pretty much putting in the drainage underneath the trail. We only have 25 feet in this area to work with. So we're coming up with some great concepts, and Jason Smith from Hanover, going back 20 years, doing the original plan, still here doing it with us. A couple years ago, we did the groundbreaking for the last section of DNL in Northampton County between Northampton and North Catasauqua. This fall, we had the ribbon cutting of that last section of DNL, which is also the September 11th National Memorial Trail that runs 1,600 miles from the Pentagon out to Flight 93, out to the World Trade Center, making a whole triangular area. So that has been a major accomplishment. Now, the whole trail might not be great in Northampton County. We're working with Easton, the DNL, Bethlehem Township down in the Hope Road area to figure that whole stormwater component out and make that a little bit better. But yeah, the DNL is complete. We almost beat Carbon County as they were the first one. I tried to hold them off as much as possible. I put caution tape across that bridge across the Leo River a couple times, and someone just kept ripping it down. But Yeah, we missed it by 6 to 8 months, but so I mean, it's been great. We see the long-term planning of these things, and we see the partnerships through the long term, and we're able to build these and make these things go. So I mentioned this is a map. I got a couple maps in here. This is the map of the two rivers. So the yellow is the area that will be the new 2-mile section from where the Stockertown and Plainfield trails meet. This is the way that it will go to connect up to Jacobsburg. Now, you know, it connects on the north end from Jacobsburg up to 512. We're working with the township to get up to 8th Street, which is just the connection off the AT coming down. We're working with Bushkill and Plainfield to make a connection over into Wind Gap to Plainfield Township Trail into Penargil. Waste Management in that whole section of things donated $50,000 to the national, or to the 9/11 National Memorial Trail Alliance. And also we are working directly with them as a major landowner and the township to realign that north section of the trail to get us up to 512. And then they're going to be donating land as an east-west connection between Waste Management and Teco Block to get us into 2 historic downtowns of Wind Gap and Penargil. So connecting, building the economic drivers behind these. Yeah, it's been great. And the golf farm is actually, if you follow the UR, like that's where the golf farm is, like that arrow is. Yes, we're working on it, but there's things called sinkholes, and they keep opening them up. We had that, yeah. So the question was the Stockertown area and coming down into Tatamy. We had hopes that for 100-some years that the old trolley abutments that were there at the street never moved. So we thought we were able to go across there. Within the past 8 months, they moved. So through all of this, though, education partnerships, County Council created a karst geology advisory council. One of the first in the state to look at. We have limestone, we have sinkholes, we have big cement quarries, we have development, we have all these different pressures. Going through this opened our eyes, and how do we work on this? So this karst geology advisory council is looking with these issues, working with developers, working with landowners and corporations, but also now the state has seen, and they're actually looking at it statewide, how we can build this around for these types of problems and scenarios that they're going to be working with that. So there's all types of different scenarios, and this section between Stockertown and Tatamy is probably, it's I don't know. But we're looking at a possible reroute. There's landowners that we're talking to that might donate sections for trail easements. I mean, as the education, it's not just, as I mentioned, the education, landowners get to know about it. And when they start seeing the impact that they could possibly have to close these gaps, 1,600-mile trail coming through their backyard, it brings value to their home, it brings value to their local economy, their local town, and land gets too at the same time. So these are all good things that years and years of partnerships and dedicated workers have been doing. That's kind of where we're at and where we're going. Any questions? Anything that I didn't touch on?
It's a great answer. I'm wondering what further forward connecting, making so that people don't have. We get all of one of the
Yep. Right. Sure. So the question was urban core and getting trails for those people that live in the urban centers of Bethlehem, Allentown East, and out to these more regional trails. So a couple of years ago, we started a group called The Link. many of you may have heard that. That holds both counties, holds the DNL, DCNR, PennDOT, Discover Lehigh Valley, and a host of some other different partners. Wildlands is in there, but bringing those decision makers and people that can do things together and planning around that, we're able to get those out. So if we're looking at just at Easton, we know getting from the Carl Sterner Arch Trail through a new development that's going in where a redevelopment area to connect to that southern part of the Palmer Trail, that should be taken care of through the planning of all of that redevelopment, which gets us in. That's that major connection. Now, if we're looking at, let's say that's not going to happen for a couple of years, we're talking to Lanta on putting bus stops in different areas. So this section that I talked about on the north end of the whole Two Rivers Trail up at Plainfield and 512, where waste management is going to be done. We're looking at putting a bus stop there. So they already run a route through there to stop. There's other areas that bus stops are located there. Atlanta's at least been gracious to put bike racks on front of theirs. So to put those types of things in Bethlehem, we're still working with Hellertown and Bethlehem to make that connection to Hellertown, to the South Bethlehem Greenway. The elephant in the room is Norfolk Southern. There's property issues that we just can't get over at times, but we're hoping to get through that. Lehigh County just had a major announcement from the state that donated, I think, almost more than $7 million to do the DNL in Allentown itself. They had a $24 million raise grant that was brought into Allentown to develop the west side of the Lehigh River and the trail connection up to the Ironton through there. So through the planning of both the local municipalities, through the planning of the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, through our partnerships at the county, DCNR, PennDOT, Atlanta, all of that, we're all coordinating. So those are really the ways that we're able to make those different types of things. It is, but we meet, we talk, and that's the biggest thing, is we're all in different parts and we're talking. The Planning Commission's been phenomenal about dedicating funding, federal funding, for bike pedestrian plans. So they've done the walk roll plan. That is an instrumental part of getting dedicated funding for bike and pedestrian projects. The TASA funds dedicate funding for bike and ped improvements. We weren't able to get that $654 million or $650,000 for a trail project 10 years ago. All of that work that individuals Phil has been doing and getting those things out there, we're starting to see it pay off. Yes. We really, when we were doing the Two Rivers Trail and walking it, we had so many people, I don't want it in my backyard. We're gonna bring people from, now people are buying houses because they know the trail's coming there. So yeah, that's been a education. Yes. It doesn't, it polices itself. The people, the trail becomes so active, it polices itself. We're not worried about not having patrols there anymore. Right. There's excellent groups. I mean, like the Ironton, we call them the Ironton guys. They have a 15, 20-year long-standing volunteer group that they do anywhere from, I think last year they did 7 or 8 different 5Ks. They do like funding for hospitals or different charities. They just held their first half marathon. I mean, there's all of these other things that come out of the trail once it's on the ground. Just getting to those parts of it too is where we're at.
And they plow it in winter.
They do plow. We don't plow. You want to go snowshoeing or? Yeah, they do. Yeah, we don't. We open. We're 4 seasons. So. Yes. Yeah. So the question was the Monocacy Way, Burnside North.
Just south of Burnside, there's a rail line that goes down to basically the park.
That way. Yes. So there's. Yeah, and that's it's right away. I believe that's owned by Norfolk Southern. Some throw the darts at the wall with a planning. It was a great thought. There's a lot of other hierarchy, like higher priority areas than that. But this section just below here, the county actually helped fund DCNR and through our livable landscapes to make the Monocacy Way connection improvements. So the Coca-Cola Park, it's on our radar, but we're not sure. It's the land ownership is really what's going to hurt it, but never say never. Don't know. Is there any questions on? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Brian, thank you very
Sure.
much. It's amazing to see what happens. Wow. Hey, this is really neat. Next month, we are going to, is it Patagonia? Patagonia. So, oh, yeah. And her name? Sam Janke. Please don't tell Sam that I forgot her name. Sam Janke is going to take us there. If you have anything that looks good for the future, let us know. We are going to fill out our season. Brian has a little tribute here.
Oh, geez.
Something from my family.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Enjoy. There's some refreshments over there. And again, thank you all for coming. And Brian, thank you.
No, thanks for having me. Thank you.